Welcome back to the Purple Podcast. This is episode number 26 now, episode number 3 of the Lately Lowdown. And happy to be here again, guys. It is Tuesday. It's a little later. I said that I was going to try to do these on Monday, but, first half of the week makes sense. Yesterday had some exciting things in itself, as I'm sure a lot of you had seen. We just came out with the purple merchandise, so very excited to be offering that now. Go get your shopping done. But other than that, yesterday went out, look at the house that me and my girlfriend Dana will be renting. Took some dimensions. I was trying to get some ideas of how I intend to set up my office and everything like that, and I've absolutely been obsessing about it, just because that's going to serve as somewhere where I can, do this podcast as well as work. We both work from home, so it'll be nice to, being able to kind of split up in that way. Opposed to where we are, how our current setup is. But on top of that, like I said, that'll be a great place to have the podcast, and, just was looking for different ways to kind of squeeze furniture in there and different kind of setups and things like that. Because I'd like to have, a big table that I can have people sit at, as well as maybe just even a little sitting area where we can do a more relaxed, laid back setting, everything like that. But anyways, that will come in due time, but happy to have you all here. Looking forward to it. But that is why we are here on a Tuesday today instead of Monday. But moving forward, we'll look at this weekend in fun, kind of hop into the episode here. Friday ended up, we were planning to have a poker night over at my buddy's Connor Gerhardt's. He's been on the podcast prior, but ended up watching baseball throughout it and headed out to O'Shea's, had a heavy drinking night that night. So got that good and out on Friday. Saturday didn't do much, went back to Connor's, but we just watched football all day, didn't go out or anything like that. Ended up actually watching the Rings of Power episode for the second time, just because I guess Connor hadn't seen it yet, and I was forced to not have any kind of spoiler conversation prior to then. I was just dying to have. But that's what happened on Saturday, and then Sunday, not much either, just a little lazy day, NFL football. A couple buddies came over as well, and then late that night, ended up watching House of Dragon. So, not too much this weekend in terms of the weekend in fun, but a good one nonetheless. Here we are on a Tuesday. We've already gotten the Monday out of the way. Continuing forward, we'll hop on over to our TV and film section, where we'll be discussing the Rings of Power, of course, and House of Dragon. But also prior to that, we do need to have a shout-out tribute to Robert Robbie Coltrane, as many of you know, as Hagrid from the Harry Potter movies, passed away this previous week. So just wanted to give him a little tribute because, I did. I grew up with those movies, as many of you did, I'm sure. If you did or you didn't, it doesn't really matter. His significance on those movies will live on forever. With that being said, I will, have this quote from him. It was actually from the reunion that just released this previous year. I think it was this year that it came out. But I thought immediately to that when I heard the news. It goes, I just think it's the end of an era. My children had grown up during it, of course. The legacy of the movies is that my children's generation will show them to their children. So you could be watching them in 50 years' time, easily. I'll not be here, sadly, but Hagrid will. Amen. That's the truth to it. Hagrid will live on forever. His legacy that he left in those movies will live on forever. So rest in peace, Robbie Coltrane. Thank you for, giving us one of the most lovable TV or movie characters of all time. Just an absolutely beautiful role Hagrid was, especially, just kind of being the grown-up figure for those kids. And it's all together. I'm not going to go in deeply to the Hagrid role, but man, it's a great role that he had there, and wouldn't have asked for anyone else to play that part, and he did it just tremendously. So rest in peace, Robbie Coltrane. It's a sad one. Thinking of your family and everyone else. But moving forward now, we will discuss the Rings of Power episode. This is the season finale. It is called Alloyed. We start off the episode by seeing the stranger walking along, looking at the apple that Nori had given him, and then he thinks he sees Nori, a little small individual, sees her face, seeks her out, goes after him, and it turns out to be that, Slim Shady looking mystic and her friends. So they take him over and they claim him as Sauron. There he is. It's Sauron. Obviously, if you're listening to this, spoiler alert. I'm doing this commentary with fully, accepting that everyone has seen it. So obviously this is not Sauron, but that is what you are supposed to think in the initial scene there. We then jump to Eregion, where Halbrand, Celebrimbor, Galadriel, Elrond. First it's Celebrimbor and Elrond just discussing how they just don't have enough mithril. The elves are going to have to sail away because their time is ending on Middle Earth. We then see Halbrand and Galadriel riding in on horse, where Elrond and then Galadriel are reunited for the only second time on the show so far. It had only happened earlier, prior to Galadriel being sent west to Valinor. Anyways, this is where we see Halbrand start scheming. And anyone who had any kind of suspicion, this is where it kind of culminated. As soon as I saw Halbrand walk into Celebrimbor's, I don't even know what you call it. We'll just call it his office for sake here, because I can't think of it. I guess it's forgery. But as soon as he walks in there, he asks if Galadriel's around. You can tell that he wants to be alone with Celebrimbor. Why else would he do that? We know that Sauron has to deceive the elves at some point. Lights are going off. It's just like, okay, here it is. Here he is. But anyways, he sends out the idea to Celebrimbor, essentially, that you can amplify. Goddamn, you can amplify the metal by adding it with a lesser one, because they need to spread out the mithril, apparently, because it's not enough. At that point, Celebrimbor says, that's a pretty intriguing idea, and Halbrand says, call it a gift. Yep, that's Sauron. We know it from there, or I did at least, and you at least saw there was some kind of devious plot in that guy's mind. Next scene was that Seeing Stone scene. We go back to Numenor, where Isildur's sister is in this pack. They're talking about how the king will be in a stone casket or whatever. Anyway, she gets alone with him, and the king, in his stupor, thinks that it's his daughter, the queen of Numenor. Shows her the Seeing Stone. So we got to think that she did see what they had seen, that being the end to Numenor. Where does that go? We didn't see anything else of her, so we have to imagine that she did see that vision in the Seeing Stone there. So where does it go? We're going to have to wait until Season 2. Continuing on, we do see Gil-galad come back, the king of the elves, basically saying our time is out, our timer's done, we need to leave. But Celebrimbor is refusing, saying that they're on the brink of it. They're almost there, where he ends up saying, this is a power not of the flesh, but over flesh, a power of the unseen world. And that was, just another thing saying, okay, where is he getting this idea? Where is this said? An interesting theory is that since he doesn't necessarily know where he heard it, maybe Sauron has already been back there a few times and kind of been planting that in them. But when you hear that, you directly think of the Adar quote from earlier in the film when he is discussing what Sauron was looking for. Galadriel's spidey senses start tingling at that point too. She's like, have you been with Halbrand? Where did you hear that? Because she heard that exact quote from Adar, and it was weird to be hearing it from him. At that point, she seeks to have the bloodline of the Southlands basically looked up to check into Halbrand and see if his story holds up, anything like that. At that point, we then move forward to the Stranger Part 2 scene, I guess I'm coining it here. But we see the Harfoots show up. They're looking. They see him with the Mystics, the Stranger with the Mystics. They're trying to tell him, basically, this is who you are. And he's showing some magic and things like that. And they put him out, put him under. And the Harfoots think they're going to save him. He's tied up. Turns out another switcheroo. It's the Slim Shady looking Mystic, again disguised as him, where they get into a fight. Sadoc gets throwing knifed in the guts, and then Nori goes up and has that kind of powerful scene with the Stranger saying, you're good. he does stand up. He grabs the staff. He turns these, I guess they're of the dead. I don't know exactly what they are because they're not like real people. You see them in that kind of Nazgul-ish scene where they're like a ghost to some extent, and he sends them away in the way of butterflies and moths, which Gandalf is very, connected to as well. On the Tower of Saruman, he has that butterfly come up. That's typically how he has some kind of communication there. But a calling to Gandalf, is it Gandalf? The question's still out. It hasn't been confirmed, even though a lot of people would believe that it is confirmed at this point. But the one kind of guy I've been following who does these recaps seems to think he still could very well be an elf or a wizard called the blue elves. But they say that in the scene. They said he's not Sauron. Those mystics, they recognize it and say he's not Sauron. He's an Istar, which means essentially wise one or wizard. That scene concludes with the sun rising. That's something that very commonly happens in the Tolkien world, or at least in the movies. It seems like the sun comes out of nowhere to signal morning. But good scene there with Sadoc passing away. He says, nope, I'm not going to make it. I'm going off trail. I'm going to go see my wife. Off trail essentially meaning I'm going to die. I just want to see the sun one last time. And pretty scene there. Moving forward, we go to the ship where the Númenóreans are arriving at Númenor. Pretty powerful scene before the Queen, with the Queen and Elendil in the basement there, or in the basement, but I don't even know what you want to call it, wherever they're at on the ship, the beneath the barracks, whatever the hell. I'm not a shipsman. Anyways, pretty powerful scene there. A good duo is forming between them. A lot of good duos in the show. You have Elrond and Durin. Elrond and Galadriel is a pretty good one in itself. Nori and the Stranger. But essentially, they're having a discussion about what to do now. They talk about the price of being faithful, and it is a high price. Elendil has lost his son. But then he has the quote of, we have little choice but to keep serving, and I, for one, will see to it that we make the end worth the price, which is very reassuring in that we did see him in a very bad place. He was pissed off, was mad that they had even gone to Middle-earth. He lost his son. It's a high price to pay. The Queen lost her eyes, but what are they to do but to keep serving? And it's powerful to see that, he's going to stick with it, and he's going to make sure that it's worth the price that he paid. Then flash to above deck, we see the black flags, meaning the king's death. The Queen obviously can't see it. She's asking Elendil, what do you see? We never get the word, but obviously he does end up saying it. That's the last we see of Númenor. We flash back to Eregion where, we're getting to it. They're trying to craft these rings or craft these rings at this point. We see an explosion. They're having trouble with it. Halbrand says it needs to be coaxed. Whatever. At that point, flash to a scene along kind of a riverside, a creek, where Galadriel and Halbrand begin talking, and Galadriel calls him out. She says, who are you? Your bloodline ended 200 years ago. And he, full disclosure at this point, he basically comes out. He's like, I told you I got this, symbol off a dead body. I never lied to you. I said I've done evil. I don't know if he had said that yet. He gets to that later. But basically says, in that time, I've been known by many names. She tries to stab him. He blocks her, sends her into some kind of hallucination with her brother where they're talking. And he's trying to basically at this point coax her, like the metal there as well, or when they're trying to make the ring. He's coaxing her, trying to say, no, Sauron only wants good. He didn't like what Morgoth liked, trying to bring her at his side, make her his queen, essentially, doing all this, joining. Do we believe him? Is he sorrowful for what he has done? Probably not. It's Sauron, and we're going to see what he does again. So obviously he's not that he's not, forgiving. I can't even think of the word, but he's not he's not repenting by any means at this point, is what I'm getting at there. Anyways, when she finally awakes from the stupor, Elrond has woken her. She was drowning, I guess, in the river, essentially. She says, yep, he's gone. I don't imagine he's going to be back. But with that being said, we need to now make 3 rings because 2 will only divide. 3, there's balance. And Celebrimbor says we need gold and silver from Valinor. How convenient. She has a dagger from Valinor made from gold and silver of Valinor. So that's how they make the 3 rings. The elves get their 3 rings at that point. Final scene to discuss there, Stranger and Nori. They're going to head off. They're going to do their goods. I didn't initially think Nori that was going to join him, but then she does. I then thought Poppy was most certainly going to join her, which she didn't. So some kind of curveballs there. We then hear the line as well, basically Nori saying, I don't know where to go. The stranger says, there it is. And she thinks she thinks he sees it, but it says, no, when in doubt, follow your nose, which is something that Gandalf says as well. So we'll call back to there. Is he Gandalf? It feels like it should be confirmed, but not necessarily. So that basically concludes it. Pretty wild scene. We see Sauron walking up to the, I guess, Mount Doom to forge, would think he was about to forge his last ring there. And that's where we're left. We don't have another season until 2024 is what it's looking like at this point. So we're going to have some time to wait. In that time, I do plan to finish Lord of the Rings, the actual books. I did start reading them a while back, but didn't get all the way through them. Also, I would like to read some more Tolkien works, so I want to read the Silmarillion. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. Don't make fun of me, guys. I'm trying to get deeper into it, but I want to read that so I can be more versed, more of an expert on the topic when the movies come out, and I can do some bit of compare and contrast stuff as well. But really looking forward to it. That also gives me some time. I thought it was a good season. Some people are critical of it, but it was just, in my opinion, really great to see some Tolkien again. But that'll conclude that bit of the Rings of Power. Moving on to House of Dragon, Episode 9. Just even going through these, it feels like this show is much more like sporadic. There's not as much of like a point to it. There's a lot of one-off scenes, so it makes it more difficult to discuss as well. But essentially what we see is, that opening scene there, Viserys is dead. It's confirmed. And I don't want anyone to know yet just because of the, succession question. We see the meeting of the Green Council, which is actually the name of this episode. It's called the Green Council. And it's revealed to Alicent that there was always a plan to usurp the throne that she was not told of. So basically her saying that Viserys' last words were to have Aegon take over. Didn't really matter. They were always going to do it anyways, but I guess it helps to some extent. And this is where we see where this is how it's going to go. They're having the discussion, basically saying that, they're going to usurp the throne. They're going to take over. They're not going to give it to Rhaenyra. Lord Beesbury is what his name is. That's the guy who stands up and basically starts stating his opposition, going wild. And Kristen Cole just slams his head down on the table and kills him. Fucking stupid. Kristen Cole sucks. Like, what a douchebag asshole. But that's what it is. If you oppose, if you don't plan to basically commit treason, you're going to be killed out. You have to choose this side. So authoritarian takeover, it's not really a great way to begin a dynasty. I promise you that, as history repeats. Harold Westerling, for whatever reason, I guess he's the Kingsguard, the leader of the Kingsguard, takes off his cape, says, I will not do this when we don't have a king. So he's showing his allegiance as well to some extent. So it feels like they should have killed him out, but maybe he's not really handing the position over, just more so until they have a king. It seems like him and Kristen Cole are going to have to fight at some point because Kristen Cole seems like he's going to end up being appointed leader of the Kingsguard. So you would imagine there's probably going to be some kind of brawl there. Essentially from that point on, maybe not that. there at some point becomes the discussion. I think they're basically said, yeah, we're going to have to kill Rhaenyra and Daemon, which naive Alicent, all along thought this could be done. You could just take her birthright and the throne from her without there being any kind of fighting or question about it. I don't know. But she really doesn't want to kill him. So there ends up being basically a race to find Aegon because he's missing between the Hand and Alicent. So the Hand is really the one who's out there pulling strings and has been doing it all along. He placed Alicent in this position for himself. I fully believe that. I don't think he really cares about her that much. I think he wants power for himself. He's horny for it, truthfully. So they send their own people after Aegon because they want to place, their thoughts in their mind, essentially. We see all Aegon's vices during this as they send out, I guess, what's her name? Alicent sent out Aemon and Kristen Cole. The Hand sent out the two twin brothers, the Eric brothers, or whatever the hell their names were, going after it. And we see, basically, it's this montage of showing that Aegon just shouldn't be the king because he's missing. He's gone and he frequents his time at whorehouses as well as these fighting pits. He has bastards. That's how I would essentially describe that. Aegon ends up being brought back to his mother, so I guess she gets it and she places or goes to the Hand and tells him essentially, okay, I have him. This is the way it's going to be. That finally happened. Somewhere in that point as well, we see Lord Caswell stand up. It was this scene in I don't even know where it's called, but they were in like the throne room or whatever the hell, and we see the Hand basically saying, pledge your allegiance, break your oath. If you don't, you're basically going to get killed. Lord Caswell pretends like he's being on their side, essentially, is the way to put it. I'm sorry, I'm kind of all over the place with this, but it just jumps to and from different places, random scenes, so I probably got to get a better process involved with discussing it. But anyways, Lord Caswell ends up getting hung because they find him trying to leave and spread the word to Rhaenyra. I just don't understand. This plot in this takeover was kind of bizarre. I guess they were just forced their hand. They had to do it, and they just weren't super, I guess, planned for it. I don't know. Rhaenys gets approached by Alicent, where Alicent is pleading for Rhaenys to be on their side. She's trapped her basically as a prisoner. So that's just another bad way to get someone on your team, holding them prisoner and saying, hey, you should be on our side. Alicent tries to appeal to her by saying you should be on the throne. But Rhaenys is kind of past all that at this point, I think. I think she understands that, and she still has power. She rides dragons, as we see later. But she says to Alicent and says, you're still placing power in men. You don't seek to take power yourself. You essentially just want to make a window in your castle, which she's just not going to find, true happiness in that. So overall, I think Alicent's just played it bad. I think she's somewhat there at heart. Like, she still doesn't want to kill her friend, which is good. But man, she's naive. This is the world you're in, and you played your part in it too. You've set the stage. Weird Larry's foot scene where we see Alicent taking off her socks. That dude is just a snake. He's talking to all kinds of people. He has eyes everywhere. He's going to be powerful for no reason. He's going to end up getting killed out at some point too. There's no way he doesn't. But he just starts stroking his dick to Alicent's feet. Fucking weird scene. We knew he was a weirdo. Did we need to see that? I guess. Whatever. This is part of it. The show, I guess. We then see Rhaenys being escorted out by, I can't remember who it was, but one of the knights or Kingsguard leaving out and gets caught up in not a parade, but they're pushing everyone to see the crowning of Aegon. So she's in that scene. She ends up sneaking out, going to the dungeons. As Aegon's getting throned, we have that scene in the kind of carriage as well, discussing it. And he even says straight to Alicent's face, like, my father never wanted me to be king. I don't believe it. So it isn't until he steps on to, I guess that stage is what you can call it, and gets thrown, throws up the Conqueror's sword and everyone goes crazy, where he realizes, oh, I have all this power now. So he's going to take to the position. He's going to love it. He's probably going to be a Joffrey type because he is very unfit to rule, undeniably. And Alicent made this happen. So, man, she's just gone about things the wrong way. I don't know what she really ever wanted. I think she just had this idea planted in her mind by her father so early. You know, like, hey, go fuck the king so you can have kids with him and have a son that'll be the king. I don't know. And I guess she just got lost in thinking, you know, she was doing all these things that were planted in her head and just never thought to what she would actually want. And now she is here stuck, about to have a civil war against like her best friend, and watch her kids get killed and watch her friends' kids get killed all over the stupid fucking throne. But at the end, pretty awesome scene. I did love that scene. Rhaenys gets her dragon, bursts through the floor. Obviously probably kills just like 100 plus plebeians, which this show does not give two shits about, of course. The death of others doesn't matter, aside from, you know, I guess the royals. And she could have killed them all at that point too. She could have Jacary's the hell out of them. She didn't. She showed mercy, which you would think that at some point that'll probably come back to haunt and maybe save her life, you know. But who knows? That'll do that. The next episode is the season finale, so we should finally see some fireworks. It's been a whole lot of build up, a whole lot of, you know, tempo to this point. Maybe we'll get some hammer at this, you know, at the end this next episode. But yeah, that'll do it. I am looking forward to it. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have to find some new shows now that both of these are ending here. So what's next? I guess maybe I'm gonna watch Andor, which is the Star Wars TV show. I really don't even know the basis of it or anything. So I'll probably hop into that, do that, get, you know, kind of around, you know, November, Christmassy time, start kind of getting into that as well. I won't do it next week. I'll finish up House of Dragon. I'll just do House of Dragon next week, obviously, because Rings of Power will not be coming on. So I'll do that conclusion and then Andor. And I'm up for suggestions as well, because I like to keep another show that I'll be reviewing, weekly. Moving forward onto film, looking like I'm going to see Smile tonight. So I'll probably have a review or something to say about that next week as well. Looking forward to that. A nice little spooky movie during the spooky season. Haven't watched a ton of them yet. Today I've actually had like Halloween on, Pet Sematary, just in the background. So haven't really watched as many movies, you know, spooky movies as I should. But there's still time. We still have about a week or two of October. So looking forward to that. But yeah, that'll conclude film and TV. Haven't done this yet. We're going to have a music segment here because an album has come out that I've actually listened to and thought, hey, music is one of those things I love. I might as well do this. So I'll probably do some more of these coming forward soon as well, just to kind of fill out the content. And, you know, I've been lacking on my music discovery. So I'm going to make a point to start doing that. And I'm going to look at these albums and kind of work through them, rate them, and things like that. But the one today is Spark. This is an album by Whitney, one of my favorite bands. They did Light Upon the Lake. That's one of my favorite albums. Don't know if you've heard of them. Don't know if you know them at all. But if you haven't, check out Whitney. Spark is their new album. Came out, I think, September 22nd. Didn't really look up much on the album besides like just going through the songs, rating them, looking at them. But first thing starts with Nothing Remains. That's the first track on it here. Don't really know how I should do this, but I'm thinking I'm just going to tell you basically the ratings. I'm going to go with my first four. This is our top tier bit of this is what we'll do. I'll go through my tops and I'll basically say a little note about them if it comes to it. But first number one I have ranked, I guess they are kind of ranked 1 through 12. But I have them broken up into groups of like, you know, there were 4 that did end up on a playlist of mine that I saved. There's, 5 through 9 are good songs. I did enjoy them. And then there's 3 songs that I don't really care for necessarily. They're okay. You definitely listen to them. And I don't think anything's bad. This isn't their best album. It was much different. I could tell from, the very first song. The first song's Nothing Remains, that the sound of it, this album in itself was much different than their other stuff. You still have like the high-pitched singing of their lead singer, Julian, who also plays the drums while singing, which is a pretty cool note. but it was more like techno electronic sound opposed to their original kind of more like raw folky kind of instrumentation, I would say. But the four that I listed as my kind of top tier songs in this album were Lost Control. I'd say probably not by and far my favorite one because Memory's right behind it at 2. But I think 1 and 2 are definitely your tops. Lost Control is very, very fun. Almost sounds Christmassy to some extent in the chorus. But really, really like that one. Second one, Memory. I think it's just lyrically a very nice song. I like the way the lyrics hit. Very upbeat, kind of just a nice little boppy one. Definitely enjoy it. It has a long instrumental outro, so I don't know if you do for that. But in terms of like what was I even getting at there? The hallucinogenic phase of like music's. Is that even what it's psychedelic phase? Shit, I couldn't think of it. But it's, kind of like a psychedelic long little outro. Other one, Twirl, very pretty song, slow, kind of Bon Iver-ish in the instrumentation as well. I'm not a movie critic, but these are just things that I hear and kind of how it sounds. So if you disagree, let me know. But Twirl, kind of very Bon Iver-ish, has that like kind of build up in the background to like, and it twirls. It twirls. That's not a good singing of it, but yeah, the song twirls a bit. Very correct in that. That's what the name of the song is. Fourth one here, Back Then. This is the second song on the album. I like this one. I like the lyrics of this one as well. It's a short song, 2 minutes, 29 seconds. But really do lyrically like this one. Upbeat, but sad. Then 5 through 9 here, we'll look at this. I'd say these are the mid-tier songs. Good. And, there were some probably on the border of making that kind of... I would listen to these songs. They could definitely end up on a playlist is basically what I'm getting at here. Never Crossed My Mind. That's a fun one. Uppity Groove is how I describe that. Nothing Remains. That's the first song on the album. I do like it. Don't really like the intro as much, but the chorus is pretty good. The verses aren't amazing. I think they're kind of... forgettable, but the chorus is really, really fun. And this is what sets the tone for the album. It's like, this is definitely going to be a different album from previous works that I've seen or heard from Whitney. So next one, Country Lines. This is how County Lines. This is how the album ends. Very clean last song. Very, kind of a sad way to do it, which I think this album was, even though a lot of it is like minor keys and like sadder sounding songs, I think the tone of it is supposed to be more uplifting and like a refinding of happiness after like a breakup or something like that. But it does end on that kind of sad note with County Lines. Blue, that's the third track on that album. My note was Best of the Forgettable, which it's good. But there are definitely some songs on this album that they just kind of run together. There's not necessarily anything that sets them apart by any means. But I still liked Blue and Heart Will Beat as well. I think that one's also a very smooth song, more like a kind of mid-tempo, not necessarily slow, not necessarily fast. But those would be my 5 that I think, definitely listen to those, and a couple of those could definitely at some point end up on a playlist. Last 3, Real Love, Terminal, and Self. Real Love, it's definitely the best of these 3, I would say. It kind of sounds like Tame Impala, like the chorus, the start of it at least. It could honestly be... It could be like there literally could be like a song that this is just like a bit of like a cover of. I'm not 100% sure, but I just feel like I've heard this song somewhere. But that one's still kind of fine. I won't listen to it a ton. I don't love it. And then Terminal, not great either. Never really picks up for me, so just kind of altogether forgettable. And the last one being Self. I just don't actually like that one. That'd probably be the best thing. And I don't mean to like. There's a hard way to be like critical and not be an ass. And I'm not being mean by anything. This is music that is better than anything that I could make by far. And I really love this band, so I don't want to shit on them by any means. So don't take it that way. Not their best album, in my opinion, but I think it still is a very good album, or just enjoyable to listen to. The more I've listened through it, I've definitely enjoyed it more. But I get it. I read let me pull this up really quick if I can. I read a review of this album, and basically what they said is essentially the overall album lacks depth and is mostly forgettable, but still there is something about Whitney that you want to like. Perhaps it's that their music is so eager to please, so familiar, so keen to plump up a cushion for you. And I really do like it. Like, most of it is really likable music. It's not one of those ones that you're like, oh my God, this shit is just bad. There's not one song on here that's like that, aside from maybe Self, but I could see people liking that, and it's at least listen-to-able. And doesn't kill me, but not my favorite by any means. But that's the album. I do really like it. Do I give a number out of 10 on this one? I would say, my initial reaction was probably like a 5, but I'd probably throw it like I think a 6.5 seems pretty fair. 6.5 to 7. That might be a little generous because, like I said, it's not great, but there are 4 songs that made my library upon those first few listen throughs. There might be more that make it going forward. But yeah, check out that album. Let me know what you think. Those were my thoughts on it. Moving on to gaming here. No real news to give out here other than I did buy FIFA 23. I got persuaded more by myself. I had a bunch of friends in an Xbox party playing Pro Clubs, which is the FIFA version, or just FIFA where you can play on a team together online. And I got the Series X version, so I can't even play with them. Bullshit. I don't know why they didn't just provide me both copies in that purchase of the code. I think that's idiotic. So I'm going to be contacting Xbox pretty soon there. The Elden Ring grind continues. I'm taking a little break, not necessarily a huge break. I still play it here and there, but I got to let it cool off a little bit. Played a ton of that, but it will continue on, no doubt. My career note for 2K is I do like that they put in the trouble to have this story mode and all these side quests and shit like that. But damn, just let me play the game. There's too much shit that you're making me do. Let me play a game. Give me the option to follow these quests. I keep being forced to do it, and I have to travel all the way across the map. And it's kind of frustrating, especially when you play a bad game and you're just like, fuck, let me just get into this next one and just keep this grind going. But that would be the note there. Madden still fucking stinks, I think. I've actually been playing Madden practice, just fucking around, because I think I just am not very good at Madden. I don't know how the game works very well, so I'm getting a better understanding of it. But there's still shit that's just broken, like stop routes, curl routes. If you throw it too early or too late or aim it a certain way, your receiver's just not even going to try to catch it or look at it, and it can very easily end up being a pick. Screen passes just do not work at all. Even if you do get it to your running back, which a lot of the times you can't even do that shit, they just won't look for the ball either. It's just poorly blocked all the time, and you can get at the most 10 yards. And also another thing that's kind of been bothering me is when you're throwing the ball, when you get hit, I get that it's going to affect the throw, but every time it goes straight to the defender, and it's dude, I can't actually see this pressure. I'm not really on the field. So if I throw it and someone happens to hit me as I'm in the throw, I just get penalized way too often for that, I think. COD Modern Warfare, I've been playing a bit more. I've been playing some Modern Warfare. That's the 2019 version, just to get some prep in for the 10/28 Modern Warfare 2 release. Need to finish Hitman 3. I think I have 2 more episodes. I played that a while back. Great game if you haven't played it yet, or just all of them. You can play them. If you have Xbox Game Pass, you can play them all. So I have beat the first 2, and I probably have 2 missions left in the last one there. And then upcoming gaming news, Gotham Knights comes out on the 21st. Haven't looked into purchasing that, but might see what the game's like. I think it'd be interesting to check that out. Of course, this is a world where I think Batman is dead, so could be interesting game to pursue or play. Moving on now to the MLB playoffs, divisional round. We got a great divisional round. It's still wrapping up here. I'm looking behind me right now. It looks like the Yankees are up 5-1 on the Guardians, so we'll probably get that Astros Yankees ALCS game there, but Looking at the NLDS, the Phillies, they stole one from the defending World Series champion Braves at home, winning 7-6 in Game 1. They lose that second game 3-0 to Atlanta, so it's 1-1 going to Philadelphia, and they absolutely just run the Braves out of the building. They couldn't even play in Philadelphia. So the Phillies take the first game in Philly 9-1 and win the second one 8-3, setting up, they move forward to the NLCS there. ALDS, a hard-fought divisional series by the Mariners. They played them tough. They lost that in that walk-off game. Jordan Alvarez hits that walk-off in the ninth inning. In the first game, Houston wins 8-7. Seattle could have won that one. Second game, 4-2. Didn't catch anything of that. That's a close game. They played with them. And then that third game in Seattle, they waited 20 years to have playoff baseball in Seattle, and they got 2 games worth in one game. That goes to 18 innings, and Houston wins 1-0. Series over. Houston advances. Like I just said, Cleveland and New York. It looks like Cleveland will pull that one out. It's still early. It's the top of the 7th, but it's 5-1. Looking like that one will probably be New York. First game, the Yankees did take it Cleveland, and then Cleveland took the second one 4-2. Then the Yankees, I guess it bookended here. The Yankees won the first, Cleveland won the next 2. Yankees won game 4, and it looking like they're going to win this 5th one as well. NLDS on the other side, we have the Dodgers-Padres. The Padres win that one 3-1, so decent, pretty handedly. They lose the first game and then win 3 straight to beat the regular season champions. So shaping up to have a pretty fun CS series, so championship series on both sides. We'll see the Yankees-Astros, maybe. That'll be fun. Hopefully Houston wins again, just so I can shit on all Yankees fans. And then on the NLCS side, that's a fun one. Those are teams that we haven't seen in this position, the Padres and Phillies. So that should be a fun series as well. On to Cubs news. Not much going on. We see the Wilson Contreras qualifying offer needs to be $19.65 million. If he accepts that, it would be a 1-year deal, which I wouldn't hate if he comes back with that. Nico Horner is expected to be extended this offseason. Great, love that guy. I think he's going to be integral to this team's future. A lot of talks also going around about Jose Abreu. That's a first baseman that would definitely fill in a spot that we have a need for. He is 35 years old, but he did just have a pretty good season, and he's a former MVP just 2 years ago. It was the COVID year, but whatever. He had a batting average of 304, OBP of 378, and slugging of 446, OPS 824. I know we talked about that OPS number. 760-ish is where that average mark sits, so he's definitely above average first baseman and a bat that could really help us in this lineup. Other people in discussions, of course, Carlos Correa and Trey Turner still continue to be talked about. But another one is Aaron Judge coming to the discussions. Basically, the Yankees said they see their main competition this summer being I guess it was the Padres, Dodgers, and let's see here. No, their main competition is going to be the Giants, Dodgers, and Cubs. So Aaron Judge to Chicago. I'll be honest, I don't think I really want him, but how can you really complain about having him on your team? You can't. But we saw, he hasn't performed great in this Cleveland series. I haven't checked his numbers since the first 2 or 3 games where he was like 0 for 7 with 6 strikeouts, or 0 for 8 with 7 strikeouts and 1 walk or something. So he wasn't playing well. I don't know if he's picked it up since, but that playoff baseball is important. So you can't just be a regular season guy. Moving forward into our other sports here, looking at the Premier League table, my Chelsea Blues are currently sitting at 4th with 19 points. They gain ground on Man City, with Man City losing to Liverpool 1-0. Liverpool not having their best year after some years of dominance, sitting at 8th in the table right now. But we also gave some ground on Man City and Newcastle, who are right behind us with their 2 draws. We get 3 points, and they get 1 with their draw there. Our last game having been against Aston Villa is who it was. I think we only won. Well, we won 2-0. So far, I think I looked it up. With Potter, we are, I think, 5-1, and we are outscoring opponents 13-2. It's a good look there. Going forward, well, let's finish up the table here. Arsenal's still sitting strong at the top here with 27 points. Damn, they look strong. Man City, like I said, lost their last game, but they're sitting at 23rd. They're tied with Tottenham with 23 points. I said 23rd, but they're tied with 23 points, so they're tied for second. Chelsea is sitting here at fourth with 19 points, and then Man United, Newcastle, Brighton, Man United 16, Newcastle 15, Brighton at 7 and 15 points. So we do have a little bit of a lead. We have a win lead on Man United. A game coming up against Brentford tomorrow at 2:30 should be one we can win. They're sitting at 9th currently in the table, so it's not a pushover, but one that we should win. We are a little banged up. I know Reece James is going to be out like 4 weeks now, and then there's just some other various injuries across the board as well. But the game following that, we'll have Man United actually on Saturday this week as well. And then looking at Champions League, where we are ahead in our table currently with 7 points, Salzburg with 6, Milan 4, and Dynamo 4 as well. We'll take on Salzburg again. So they're sitting at second. It would be great to at least get a draw out of that one to put us out of like a win for Milan or Dynamo to tying us. So if we can get a draw, we should be pretty safe there. There's 2 games left. There's 2 games left in the Champions League, so we should be able to move on. I feel good about us. So hopefully we can take that one. We play them on Tuesday the 25th. Wrapping up here, we're getting a little late in the episode. We're at 47 minutes here. I did talk for a while. There was a lot of content, but no worries. Looking at the Blackhawks, first week of play in the NHL, we're sitting at 1-2. Lose that first one to the defending NHL Stanley Cup winners, the Avalanche. We lose that one 5-2. Not a great showing. It was in Colorado, whatever, but I think the Avs only scored 1 goal on, I think 6-on-6 is what it is in hockey, 6-on-6 play. They scored like 4 goals off power plays, which means we were a man down. Golden Knights, we go to Las Vegas, and they've been a good team. They're a very recent Stanley Cup winner themselves. We played them close, but can't score. We lose 1-0 there. And then our third game this week, we played the San Jose Sharks and actually win that one 5-2. A pretty good showing there. So a lot of fight from this team early, who is supposed to be the 32nd team in the league in terms of power rankings. That's what it was early. So I'll keep monitoring that. We play the Red Wings this Friday and another game against the Kraken on Sunday. So we should have, I'll talk about those 2 games as well when we come up as on Monday or Tuesday. And then there's another game on Tuesday with the Panthers. So the Red Wings, pretty decent team. I think the Kraken are like 1-2. So same record there. It's early on, so I'm not going to gain too much or gather too much from the records at this point. But, hey, let's see how the boys can keep playing. And the final thing I want to touch on here are the Chicago Bulls. We have the start to the NBA season, I think today, but our first game is tomorrow. We're going to be playing the Heat, so a team that just won the East last year. They were the number 1 team in the East, as well as I think they swept the Bulls last year in all our games. So it's going to be a tough matchup early. I think from these 3 games, it's still going to be early, of course, and it's not going to be the writing on the wall at that point. But we'll get to see what we have early. We play the Bulls, or we play the Heat, who just won the division last year. So that's going to be a tough matchup. The Wizards should be a winnable game. They're not a great team on paper. We'll play some former Bulls there, Daniel Gafford being one. And who else was on that team? Let's see here. So they have Daniel Gafford and another former Bull on this team, Taj Gibson. So a longtime Bull. Should be a game that we can win. And then we'll play the new look Cavaliers with Donovan Mitchell. So I think that's our middle of the road test. I think we get a top tier test with the Heat, a team we should beat in the Wizards, and then a middle of the road team, that Cavaliers team that'll probably, they're probably shooting to make the playoffs this year as well. So Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and then what's his name? Allen, their center. Is it Dante Allen? I can't think of his name right now, but it's gonna be. We're gonna learn. at least something about this team. We'll see Io in his starting role, see if Patrick Williams can, emerge, and see if Zach LaVine, the three-headed monsters of Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic can, still play some pretty good basketball. Those are two really good scorers in DeMar and Zach. So I don't think this team falls apart as much as people are predicting, but it's early. We don't know anything. The season has to begin, and that's all I'll really say. But other than that, guys, that closes us out. We did go to 50 minutes. Shit, I'm getting them long again. I like being thorough, and I keep talking about stuff. So maybe I got to include another episode. I don't know. But that'll do it, guys. Like I said, I'm probably going to go see Smile tonight, so I'll be able to report on that later. But yeah, it's nice. Get your purple merch. Go out there. A lot of options. So, yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. I love you. I truly do appreciate it all. If you listen to the end of the episode, thank you very much. I'll be talking to you soon, maybe Thursday. Probably Thursday with the football episode. But other than that, guys, keep it easy, keep it real, keep living well. I love you. Purple Podcast, episode number 26. Peace.